This is reflecting on my life, part 6. Um, so my time in Greece. So if you looked at the other ones, um, I took off and I fled to Greece. My family's from Greece. So took off, went to the island of Skyros, Skyros, and it's an ancient island in terms of people. People have been there for over 6,000 years. Famous island because in the tale of Achilles, um, that's where he was before he went to go across the Aegean to fight in the Trojan War and then died. It's a myth, of course, but still. Anyway, so it's a beautiful island. Excuse me, I'm sorry. About 33 square miles. It's almost like a figure eight shape, somewhat. Anyway, so I fled there August of '98. Actually, September when I got there. Long flight, long way there. The only way they get there most of the year is by ferry boat. Takes a couple hours. And so, I had my relatives there. So initially stayed with my Aunt Calliope, um, trying to figure out if I really wanted to stay there and how was I going to work it out. I don't know. I didn't know. So then, but being me, Mr. Personality, as I used to be, not quite as much now. I make friends fast everywhere I go. And so it didn't take long before I had, a handful of friends. And of course that grew. And so then that makes you think like, okay, well, I could stay. But surprising to me was I didn't expect it, but in wintertime, that island gets desolate and freezing cold. Summertime population can swell to like 20,000. Wintertime's 2,000. And then I'd already moved down by the beach to my grandmother's house, who had just passed earlier that year. And so it was about a good mile walk to go up to the village, but it was mostly uphill. That's the way it was set up. The castle's on top of the hill, and then the monastery, and then all the houses. And then the main village there. So about half the island's population lives up in that village, and then the rest are scattered port and whatnot. But again, summertime, beautiful island. The water is just crystal clear, clean. It's nice. And sorry about that. And so I'm adjusting. My Greek is terrible. I'm trying to learn a little bit more. It's a difficult language. My mom was from Scotland, so we didn't speak it in the house other than good morning and hello, how are you, and just the basics, So that was a little bit of an issue. But a lot of people spoke English, so it's actually probably would have been better if they didn't, so it forced me to learn more, faster. But anyway, so it was an up and down experience. Some of it was good, some great, some not so good. Nothing was terrible, but I had some good friends. I had friends that owned restaurants, bars. Was my good friend Mitsos, short little guy, cool as hell, alcoholic, but a nice alcoholic, not one of those that gets crazy. He's just chill, happy. And he owned a bar. which is the worst thing you can do if you're an alcoholic. And it was a tiny little bar. I mean, a couple of dozen people, and it's packed. So, which in some ways I kind of like, but that's where I met, a lot of people, had some good times, some foreigners. Like there was a woman that was living there from London, but she was actually Jamaican by birth, actually half Chinese, half Jamaican, but didn't look one bit Chinese. So her name was Chin, and you're looking at a black Jamaican woman going, Chin? Really? But she was half Chinese. But she left when she was like 7. So she has just a pure London accent. Super cool. She was older. I was 29 when I first got there. 30. I was just turning 30. And she was in her 50s. But super cool, energetic, loved to party. Just great to be around. She was, real cool person. And it was funny because she was the lone black person. Well, no, that's not exactly right. My cousin, my dad's first cousin, married a black woman from Mauritius, but she was Creole, so it was a lighter skin, like a French and black mix. But she'd been there since the 70s, and anyhow, so the way people treated her it was like an anomaly for them. They were fascinated almost. A black person living here, a foreign black person living here permanently? The island's still, they're still kind of almost primitive in some ways compared to. I don't know, now they've changed with all the technology, it's different. But 25, 26 years ago, they were still kind of behind the times, but mostly in a good way. So anyway, and then it was in the bar that my friend owned that I met my girlfriend there. She's with me for about a year, Tina. And that was a funny relationship because she lived in Athens. Her father was from the island. She would come there every summer, and then she would go there often because she had the connection. She loved the island. And even though I really had nothing to do, I stayed on the island most of the time. And so I would just go maybe once a month for a few days, a week, with her, and then come back. And then she'd come, if I was there, she would come on the weekends, or some weekends. And she kept bugging me like, what are you doing there? Just come stay with me. But I was like, no. We got along great, and everything. And by the way, guys, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Women do the same crap. They must take some class somewhere when they hit puberty or something. But it's the same stuff. What are you thinking? Because you're quiet. Oh, you must be thinking about the relationship. No. Almost never is that the case. They're either not thinking at all about anything, they're just chill, or they're just thinking about some stupid shit that's just irrelevant, They're thinking about a game, or thinking about what they're going to do tomorrow. We're not sitting here constantly thinking about relationships like ladies, But they all do it. See, even halfway around the world, still doing the same thing. And what would you do if? Oh my! And I was like, oh my God, I can't get away from this. It doesn't matter where you go on the planet. Yeah, so it's some type of a class or something they give you, ladies, or what is it? I mean, Jesus. But other than that, we got along fine. But even though we got along fine, we didn't argue or anything, and I don't know if it was just that because of the reason I was there, but I just wouldn't, couldn't fall in love with her or anything. You know, just maybe that was the reason, because why I was there. I don't know. Um, anyway, so that was okay. One thing that happened that messed me up is that there's this French girl that lived there, her and her mother, and she was really beautiful. Tall, she was like a model, tall, slim. When I first saw her, it was like she was all dressed to the nines, and I saw her with some guy, and I was like, "Oh, wow, who's that?" And then later, I met her. She was a bartender at one of the bars. Um, we got a little friendly, um, and then for a while, I was running the little gym there, and I mean little, this tiny little gym. And I got her to come work out, and we started getting a little closer. But then I don't know. It's like I don't know if I just didn't feel it from her. I didn't feel like she was into me at all. Um, Also, to be honest, when you see a girl dressed to the nines, and it's like, oh my gosh, she's like a 10, a 12, like, ooh. And then you see her just in shorts, t-shirt, no makeup. You're like, hmm. It kills it just a little bit, but still, even no makeup, still very nice. Just not like, holy crap, gorgeous, you know. Um, and I don't know. I guess I just didn't feel anything coming from her like she was into me at all. And so then when I got my girlfriend, and then we went to her bar, and I introduced her, I could see her face and her whole mannerism. She was like, mm. And I was like, oh, she was into me. And then after that, she was kind of cold to me, and we never really associated much after that. That killed everything. And then I was kicking myself. I was like, really, really, I could have been with it. I didn't feel anything like she was at all. I didn't feel anything coming back, you know. And I didn't want to push it too hard. So that was that. um, you live and you learn, you know. But all in all, pretty good times over there for the most part. But there was one time it was funny. It was a slow time, and it was I think it was like early. I don't know if it was early summer or maybe it was late summer. Maybe it was early summer. On those days, yeah, it was early summer. Those days where sometimes in the evening it can actually get slightly chilly, you know, but daytime's nice because it's not full blown summer yet. And so I was in my friend's bar, Dimitri, and he was behind the bar. I was at the bar, and I had a overcoat. One friend of mine was right outside. They had only two seats. It was a small bar, and he was outside. And he was wearing a black leather jacket, and he looked a little bit. You know, if he wasn't smiling, he kind of looked like a seedy character, but he was not. He was real chill. And then another guy who had a real rough-looking face. He was in the Navy, but he was wearing a black trench coat, and he was sitting just inside. So it was just us. And this white couple, I'm not sure where they were from. Um, they're young. They come in arm in arm, holding hands, and the big smiles on their face. And they walk in, and just as they crossed the threshold, they stopped and they looked at everyone, and they looked at each other, and they turned right around and walked out. And then we all started laughing. They got scared when they saw us all in there. They were like, oh, holy shit, what's going on in here? And then Mitos got mad. Hey, you're chasing away my customers. Like, we didn't do anything. We were just sitting there. Oh, that was hilarious. Uh, anyhow, so this is probably too much to put on one video, but actually, before I got the girlfriend, my first winter there, in February, they do, excuse me, they do Apocryphus. It's the carnival. They call it Apocryphus. Carnival, just like in Rio or in New Orleans, it's a carnival. And so on the last 3 days, that's when it gets really crazy. And that weekend, I went out up to the village to party. And I met this group of foreigners, some of them American, whatever, they were going to school in Athens. And I met this hot little American girl. And we hit it off right away. And so we went down. She said, let's get out of here, go to your place. So we walked down to I was going to go to the house. It was just right there by the beach. And she was like, no, let's go down to the beach. And I was like, it's freezing cold. I mean, to tell you how cold it is, the day before it snowed. So it was cold. So she just told me, get a couple of blankets from the house. And I was like, it's freezing cold. She wants to have sex on the beach in wintertime when it's cold. She doesn't understand shrinkage. It's freezing cold. And so when I was just, she's insisting that, and then I'm like, but it's right there, my house is right there, let's just, what? But she wanted to have that little fantasy of having sex on the beach. And so that went on just for like a quick minute, not even that. And then it killed the mood, and she was just like, whatever. So nothing happened. It's like, what? I mean, have some logic to because she has a stupid fantasy. Speaking about sexual fantasies, my girlfriend, she wasn't, she was a little bit adventurous with sex. And so, when the first time we hooked up, we were right behind a chapel. The island has 305 little tiny chapels. You can barely get in. It's mostly just for people to stop and maybe do the cross or put a little candle or something, say a prayer. And so we were right behind that when we had sex. And then she would, we had sex on the beach, in the water, on a cave, different places. So then one day we're going through the village, and then the main church there, she grabs me, she pulls me to the back of the church, and we had sex on the steps of the back of the church. And so nowadays, with my bad health, and I'm thinking, I'm cursed. And then I went back in my mind, it's like, that's why I'm cursed, because I had sex on the steps of the back of a church. Right? Do you think? Yes or no? Let me know. Maybe I'm condemned. So it was good. I mean, I was in good shape back then too. I was becoming a really good swimmer. I could hold my breath for like almost 3 minutes while I was, going down, messing around. So it was summertime, and in summertime was so good. Just the weather, the swimming, the island, the women. It was great. In wintertime, everything slows down, and then you start thinking. And so after 2 winters, when I was facing my 3rd winter, then that's when I said, shit. Maybe I gotta try to work something out and go back, because it's hard. It stays with you, being a fugitive, So then I came back, did my time, and that was that. But overall, good experience there. I worked with horses for a while. The Styrian horses there, they're a little bit smaller horses. They're very famous. They're only indigenous to that island. Um, and so one summer, a friend of mine, he had a nightclub out by the rocks, right? And then right next to it was a little sandy area that they used to give horse rides to kids back and forth on the sand. And so I kept trying to find real work, you know. So my friend said, hey, you know, at least for the summer, I can get you some horses down here. Won't cost anything. We just have to buy the hay, and then you take them on the horse rides. The kids on the horse rides, you take a picture. You charge them 5,000 drachmas. Back then it wasn't euros. In American money back then it was probably about $12.50. $12 to $12.50. And so I did that for the summer, and for about 2 months it was good. I made a decent money. I split it with the other guy, the owner, Yannis. And so it was okay, hard work. Um, and then one day, it was really hot summer. I mean, really hot. I mean, it was well over 100, like 110. And so I wanted to try and cool the horses down. So there was a little path to go into the water that wasn't too rocky. So I would take the horses one by one and just take them in the water, so their bodies basically underwater and their head and neck are out of it, and just keep them there for just a couple of minutes and then bring them out. They enjoyed it, helped cool them down. And when I was doing that, as I was coming back, then one girl that I had been fooling around with, I guess, is the term. She was coming down and she had her new beau, her new man, temporary man. That's just what she was doing, fooling around. And when she saw me, she lit up. That was good. She's kind of one of those that I might say that kind of one that maybe got away. Different circumstances, and it might have been different. But she was actually a model. Well, she was a game show model, like a Vanna White type of girl. Now in Greece, they don't pay a lot, and they only work like 8 months out of the year. So she would work like 3 months during the summer. So this summer she was working on the island, managing a little nightclub. And so I pulled up on my motorbike, and as soon as I got off and got to the door, it was almost like a magnet. As soon as she saw me, she just like came over and was real close and flirtatious. And at first I thought, okay, well, she's just trying to get me to buy drinks or whatever. No, she was buying me drinks. And so I was like, well, okay. So we hooked up, but then that's all she wanted, right? But and she was like, I'm 24. I'm just looking for a good time for the next few years, mess around, sow my oats, And then maybe 4 or 5 years down the road, maybe I would think about something serious, which I wasn't thinking serious anywhere either. But she basically just wanted maybe a one night stand or just a short little fling for a very short time, a few days, a week, whatever, and then move on. And so she was like, no offense, but I'm good. It was great. I'm good. But every time I went over to the nightclub, it was the same thing again. Like she'd just be on me, and she'd be hugging me, holding me, and buy me a drink or whatever. And so it makes you think like, okay, well, she wants more, but then no. And then, but after the summer was over, she gave me all her information. She said, if you're still around in a few years, 3, 4, 5 years, and you're single, look me up. And so I was like, well, that's not going to happen. But it was a nice night. Her name was Athena, and she was a goddess. She was a Greek goddess. Athena from Athens. So, yeah. Well, there was another, my friend, Christine, she was older, she was in her 50s, and she had left her husband, and she owned a restaurant. So, she was a good cook, and real cool person. She was from Australia. We got along real well. And she had an Albanian girl that worked for her, Albana, and she was delicious. One of those girls, like, one of those, where you, just the energy that's emanating, it's just this nice, beautiful, sweet energy, that just comes across, and like everybody basically falls in love with her right away. That type of person. But one small problem, she was married with a kid. But it was obvious after a little while that she was totally into me. I mean, every time I went to the restaurant, she saw me, she just lit up. And she'd come over, and no matter what she was doing, she'd take a second and come over to say hello. And then every chance she got, she'd come over and sit down, talk to me. And then it got a little more obvious, where she was just straight out asking me, so when are you planning on going back to America? You planning on going back alone? Kind of shit like that. And it's like, what are you thinking, little chickadee? And then my friend, the Australian woman, she even told me, she's like, Albana, she's crazy about you. I know, she's married, she has a kid. And she even said, and Christine, the Australian lady, she even said that Albana and I would make a great couple. And it's like, especially with my circumstances, I'm going to go back and do some time. And also, I knew that at least part, if not entirely, she just wanted a free ticket to America. If she could get out of her marriage here, trick me into marrying her, and become an American citizen, she would probably be gone in a second. Who knows? Maybe not. I don't know. But I would almost guarantee that was at least part of it. Well, anyway, I've gone on too long, so there's other stories. I'll just throw them in here and there. So that's it for now.